Hello again, round two. So let's talk about the attitudes follows behavior principle. Do you act like how you think you should act? Do you behave in ways you believe are righteous and true? Do you act how you believe the ideal person should act? Probably you answered yes to a couple of these. It goes against reason, but it is a fact that we form our attitudes around our behaviors. We act first, think second. In other words, we act first, then justify our behaviors with our attitudes and beliefs to make ourselves not go crazy. Because why else would we act the way we act? We better believe in it. We better believe it's true. It goes to show that perhaps human beings are more unconscious than we like to believe. I mean that there's a lot of things we just do out of instinct and we don't know why we do them. Out of instinct or out of an unconscious understanding. Had to take a phone call. There's my unconscious understanding that if I don't pick up the phone, I might be in trouble. Anyways, there's a lot to be said for action before thinking. Who knows what it is that's ingrained in us that's throwing us into action, springing into action. And it's not always an emergency thing or an instinct like a flinch, but just simple behaviors are day to day. What motivates us is often a mystery to us, to the point that where we don't think before we act. It's just a simple fact of psychology. That doesn't mean we can't think before we act, but it seems to be the natural state that we act and then think. So, what to do with this piece of information? Well, I think one can engage in introspection to ask oneself, am I acting in accordance with my beliefs? Beliefs usually come second. But if I know that, and I know that I sort of justify a lot of my behaviors with my beliefs by believing in them, by almost worshiping my habits, then maybe I can flip that thinking on its head. I mean, you can do that. I mean, you can think a lot of things. Your brain is a powerful machine. So I think it's in all of us to be able to counteract that natural yet counterintuitive way of operating. You almost have to reset the operating system. The reason why this principle is so powerful, however, is because of what it causes us to avoid. Cognitive dissonance. The idea of holding two opposing ideas simultaneously. How could we act one way and not believe that to be the right way? How could we believe in righteous behavior but act unrighteously? We justify the unrighteous behavior as righteous or acceptable to maintain the belief in ourselves that we are indeed righteous. Otherwise, we admit to ourselves that we're crazy. Otherwise, we admit to ourselves that we're irrational creatures, that we are not in control. And those are all harder pills to swallow. So, the attitude follows behavior principle is the natural state, is unconscious, one might argue is entropic in that it slowly degenerates. It's a pernicious principle because over time the belief becomes cemented by the action, And after you've done an action, a habit, let's say you're a smoker, you've been smoking now for 5, 10, 15 years, pretty hard to admit that smoking is really bad for you. And if you do admit that smoking is really bad for you after 15 years of doing it, then you admit the equally or even more uncomfortable truth that you don't care about your health. What is it that drives us if it's not our thinking? How can we act in ways that we don't believe to be good? I'm going to let that sit with you and keep this video short. Think about the attitude follows behavior principle. Where in your life do you justify your behavior after doing it? And when do you have the opportunity to engage in some introspection to change your behaviors so they align with your beliefs, so you believe and you think and you carve out your value first and then act in accordance? It's not so easy to be in control of your own life. A lot of things we do, we don't know why we do. There might be an unconscious pattern there. Something we naturally gravitate towards because it makes us feel good. Something we do to avoid something that makes us feel bad. We might unconsciously put others down and then go home and we might even feel a little bad about it. A little bit of guilt hits us, like a twinge of guilt. But then to make ourselves feel better and not as painfully guilty, we say, oh, it wasn't so bad. I was just messing around. I was just whatever. It wasn't so bad. It's a lot harder to take ourselves to task, bring ourselves to trial, so to speak, and really cross-examine yourself. That takes humility and time and effort. So, like many natural states of human nature, the attitude follows behavior principle is the default mode. It takes work to push against entropy. Entropy is the natural state. I've heard it said before that a pond grows moss and algae on its own accord. It doesn't take work, manpower to become dirty. Just like your room becomes dirty without you even trying. Your kitchen becomes dirty without effort, just from existing. Things naturally decay and fall down, even gravity. Things are degenerating. Maybe human nature has that naturally degenerative habit. What do you think? Do you justify your own behaviors with your attitudes to make yourself feel better? I do. Thank you for listening. I'll keep it there for today. Take care.